If you own Shopsmith tools, it's a matter of time where you're going to find yourself in an uncomfortable position. For example, maybe you're turning over here on the lathe. You're deep inside of a bowl, a laminated vessel of some sort, and it begins to delaminate or begins to come apart. The problem is your on-off switch is on the other side of the shrapnel. What do? Or maybe you're on the far end of the machine running your bandsaw when the band breaks or the tires begin to fly off of the bandsaw, as they will do on all bandsaws at some point in their life. Same deal. You got to walk past the shrapnel to turn the machine off. Something I started doing years ago was I started using this switch. Now, this is one of two similar switches that Shopsmith produced over the years. This one was originally used on their special purpose tool stands. So you could take your bandsaw, your joiner, your belt sander, mount them on their own stand, and you would take the motor of that machine and plug it into this port in the bottom. And then about 9 feet away, you would plug this cord into the wall. So to operate this switch, there was a key, and the key would go into this hole and would depress a little device that allowed you to turn this on and with the slap, turn it off. For years, I've had one of these with my Mark V plugged into it, and it gave me two big advantages. The first one is I could drag this to either end of the machine and have a convenient off if I needed it. But also, if you ever need an extension cord, you probably don't need much more than 8-9 feet. And by using as heavy of a gauge as we have here and as short of a length as is provided on this switch, you have very little additional load on the machine. I mentioned there are a couple versions of this. This is the version that was made for the Pro Planer. So same deal, it's got a place to plug your Mark V in on the bottom. Additionally, it had another port to plug in and power the variable speed motor. So this rheostat here is adjusting the speed of the feed on the planer. But this switch is still just controlling, or well, not just, but I can use this without a planer motor. I can have my Mark V plugged in here and I can control the power on and off of my Mark V using this. Now, somebody just the other day posted over on the mygrowthrings.com forums that they were using that original single purpose tool switch on their bandsaw. And I said, boy, is that timely, because I've been thinking about making an improvement to my approach. And what I've always wanted to do with this is to mount it on a large magnet. Now, Harbor Freight has a large diameter, I believe it's a rare earth magnet. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's in a metal cup. And the problem with mounting that to this so that I can mount it on either end of the machine on the leg is it's just going to scratch up the legs. Of course, I could cover it with something. I could put felt or plastic. The other day, I'm walking through Harbor Freight, and I see this magnetic paper towel holder. I already have one of these, and I've been using it for quite a while to hold paper towels. And the thought occurred to me, this might be my solution. So all I've done for now is I've added a strip of spec tape, of double-sided tape, again, one of my favorite double-sided tapes. And I was playing around with where I might position this and have found that this location is absolutely perfect. I still have access to my on-off controls, off being on top. I still have access to the port on the bottom to plug the Mark V into it. And eventually I'll find a more secure way, maybe epoxy, to bond this. But I've had this on there for a little over a week and have had absolutely no problems with it at all. Staying on. The other thing I like about this, I was thinking, well, maybe I would remove the magnets from this and just mount the magnets directly on that. But I've come to find that I really like this. I can use this to wrap my cords around this when I'm not using this switch. So how cool is this? I can put this switch pretty much wherever I want, and I can power the machine off and on from any position that's safe and comfortable, including the opposite end of the machine. And I can still plug this into my vacuum switch. Hey, Forgetful Scott from the future here. If you happen to have a Power Pro headstock, just remember, if you cut the power to the headstock, you're going to have to go through the whole setup process again. So consider any kind of shutoff like this on the Power Pro simply an emergency shutoff. I still think it's worth doing, but just keep that in mind. If you don't want to wait until one of these used switches becomes available, there's another great option that I'll link to in the video description. Also, you don't ever want to use one of these variable speed units that is designed for a router, basically made for a DC motor. If you run this on an AC motor like what we have on our Shopsmith, you'll actually damage the motor. All right, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. What's really cool about this is with a coupon for about 10 bucks, you get 2 of these. So I can imagine you can come up with lots of other great ideas to use them. I'm looking forward to your questions, comments, and cheap shots, and I'll continue to play with this myself. But in the meantime, make it a great day.